If you are new here to Geekdom 101, make sure you subscribe and enable all notifications by hitting the bell, and also make sure your devices have notifications for YouTube turned on so you don't miss a single video when they drop. On this channel, we discuss all things Dragon Ball, movies, manga, and anime, and much more, and I thank you for 8 years of support. Now let's get to the video. The debate is ongoing. Which of the two shows had a better ending? I've seen folks talk about this a lot lately in the fandom for the past maybe year or so. I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball Z's ending was Toriyama's original intended ending from the manga. GT, however, was conceived by Toei Animation, majority of it, and the ending was absolutely their idea. Kozo Morishita is probably the one who came up with it. Either way, does that mean that Toriyama's is better? Not necessarily. Let's remove all that canon, non-canon garbage. Like, that's a weak argument. Forget the canon crap. It doesn't matter. Which ending was more satisfying? The Dragon Ball Z one from Toriyama or the GT one? That's the topic of today's video. We're going to analyze it, and joining me right over here, it's Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going?
Hey guys, it's Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going? And in this video, I'm looking forward to discussing and comparing and contrasting the ending of Dragon Ball Z and GT, and who or which is better.
I want to start off by saying this. Again, forget the canon crap. Just on the ending. Some folks don't like GT. We're talking about just the last couple of episodes, and with Z, the last 3 episodes. Now, just so everybody knows, later this year, I'm going to be doing an in-depth analysis on the end of Z ending. On the channel right now, I'll leave a card probably over there. You can check out my analysis of the GT ending, because that ending is so deep and so powerful that most Dragon Ball fans do not understand what happened. You need to watch that video, yo, because nobody on this platform has done it quite like me when it comes to this. Not gloating, but I did a lot of research on it. It's deeper than you realize. Now, the Z ending is more like a shonen type of ending. It's more like an adventurous type of ending. I like both endings, but which one is a more satisfying conclusion to Dragon Ball? Again, canon aside, Mike, which ending do you think is a more satisfying conclusion to the Dragon Ball story, and why?
It's definitely an interesting question, and overall, like when I'm thinking of the two of them together in my mind, the one that I think tends to resonate more with me and a lot of other fans is the ending of Dragon Ball GT. And the reason for that is because the fact that although in Dragon Ball Z, we definitely do have an interesting ending where the villain of the previous arc is reincarnated, and now with Dragon Ball Super, the villain of many arcs ago is reincarnated, and Goku, meets him, learns of his power, and wants to train him so he could essentially become the next Goku, the next defender, the person who kind of uses his latent powers to help others rather than to destroy like he did in the past. It's definitely an interesting ending with some really great themes to it. However, when it comes to which one is a more satisfying, a more fulfilling ending, for me, it's definitely GT, because a lot of ways it feels kind of like a love letter in a sense to classic Dragon Ball. Because not only do we have the Goku flying off in the distance like he does in the other endings, but we also have him meeting with Master Roshi on his island and fighting Krillin one last time.
Piccolo.
Talking to these people and seeing Piccolo in hell, and then going to, eventually time passing, everything is different. The next generation, the hero's legacy is taken over, especially if you include that special in all of this, and Goku goes away at the end. The only thing I will say, just like a little thing for me as a fan of other characters, is I do kind of wish that they didn't just be like, it's 100 years later, whatever happened with the other characters doesn't, it's kind of not relevant for on screen. It's kind of like Goku's the one who's left, goodbye, and that's it. It kind of does feel like, in a sense, it's kind of just focusing a little too much on Goku at the ending compared to like all the other characters he met. But it's not necessarily like everyone dies and they're abandoned and that's it. It's more of like, the world naturally progressed and Goku has kind of transcended reality to become something different. So
Right.
I think that a more satisfying conclusion for me.
Well, the thing that they both have in common is they have a very similar theme, and that is the fact that it's about the legacy of Goku, not the game. The legacy of Goku at the end of Z is I'm going to train the next generation who can protect the Earth, as you said, and Oob is the one with the potential, so he'll go train up with him, and also obviously train himself because he enjoys training and fighting, making himself a new rival. And in GT, it's the same thing, except he doesn't train the kid, but Goku Jr. is the representation of the future of who's going to be Earth's protector. So Goku coming back after 100 years, seeing Goku Jr. compete against Vegeta Jr., like George Lucas said, they rhyme, like poetry. So it's sort of like a story where Goku says, you know what, I'm back. The Earth is in good hands with Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. It's very similar in theme. Execution is different. I agree with you that the GT ending is much more emotional. Even though I like Kikuchi's soundtrack, the GT Japanese soundtrack for that ending is so like tear jerking. You know, it's very impactful, very good. I think Goku's ending in Z was more optimistic, but they're both pretty optimistic. It's just telling you that life goes on with or without Goku, and there will always be somebody here. And that's the theme. That is literally the theme. But I think in GT, the ending is so much more deep because they're literally lifting stuff from ancient Taoism. Like I mentioned before, I did a whole breakdown on this that nobody else covered on YouTube about where they got this idea from, where Goku literally evolves and transcends into being a dragon. Like, and it's not explicitly stated, but you have to kind of do the homework on who made the episodes, what they learn over there in Japan, and what their education teaches them about Taoism, Buddhism, and myths like this, and legends like dragons. It's embedded in their culture. Just like how if you go to school in the United States, you learn about Martin Luther King, JFK, George Washington. For them, they learn, and you learn about stuff like that. But for them, you learn about Journey to the West, ancient stories of like the feudal Japan. Like every country has its own sort of education system. So remember that Dragon Ball is not for Americans; it's for the Japanese. So because of that, a lot of folks misunderstand the ending of GT because they don't know that Goku literally became the immortal, which was taken from literally from Taoism, literally from evolving your own self. Beautiful, beautiful idea. For me, as much as I respect Toriyama, because I do like the Z ending, some folks think it's kind of dumb, but I like it because it shows that Goku will never change. And because of that, we're kind of thankful for it. And it tells you, like, that he made all these enemies become good people. Vegeta, Piccolo, Majin Buu, Tenshin Han. Goku has that ability to make enemies become good. Oob, being the reincarnation of Kid Buu, is the last in that line. So that's beautiful. Like when you think about the poetry, beautiful stuff. I still think the GT one hits a little bit harder. And also the GT one, even though, like I said, get the canon crap out of the way. It's not Toriyama's, but it's definitely much more emotional. I felt like more of a farewell, especially when at the end of GT, if you watch it, they show that video package of like footage from Dragon Ball, Goku meeting Bulma, all the way through like his battles in Z and then GT. And so that feels like a real conclusion. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think the end of Super with Goku and Vegeta doing the blue forms about to fight feels more like the Z ending than the GT ending.
Yeah. GT had real finality when it was over, whereas Super and Dragon Ball Z, they kind of have the typical anime ending in a sense to where things will keep going. The hero flies off and kind of abandons all their friends. Like, I don't know why that's always a theme in anime. It's like almost every anime I watch that's like a mainstream one.
It's a
ends
shonen
almost
thing.
the same way.
Yeah, it's a shonen thing.
And when it comes to that, honestly, for me, the best ending that Toriyama wrote is not the end of Dragon Ball Z. It's actually the arc before that, the Cell games and the Cell
Right,
Saga.
you've said that
Like,
before.
yeah, that for me is the perfect ending because Goku passes the torch, he goes on, and then we have two endings in one.
A
We not
lot of
only
folks
have
feel that
Gohan-
way.
Absolutely. We have the Gohan assuming the role of the main character, which we never really need to see what comes next. That would have been a fine ending for me. And then Trunks defeating Cell in his
Right.
future, ensuring that everything will not repeat. And that's the ending too. So you have the two perfect endings of the next generation going on to,
I
defeat
agree
the
with you.
previous
I agree with
incarnate.
that.
And then boom, that's perfect for me. That would have been the number one ending of the franchise if they stuck with it. But with regard to if we're comparing what we do have in both, the Toriyama and the Toei version, for me, Toei actually wins in this case.
And that's Toei getting a W is kind of rare sometimes when it comes to this kind of stuff, because there were a lot of, I don't hate GT, but there were a lot of rough moments in it. Now I want to say this: we have one more thing to talk about before we get to it. Right now, everybody leave a like down below, and please leave a comment. What I want you to write in the comment section, I want you to write which ending you like more and why. And please make sure, this is important, if you have not seen the end of GT and Z in Japanese, make sure you do, because the dub of both of those endings are subpar, to be honest with you, and I want you to have full context for what's going on, because the dub will sometimes not correctly tell you the story. So I think it's best if everybody does that, and then let me know down below which one you like more. Plus the music and everything, the original purpose. What I was going to say is, Mike, let's discuss which one had the better final battle. We've got on one side for Z, Goku, Vegeta, Majin Buu, and Mr. Satan, essentially, versus Kid Buu, True Evil Buu. And then they have the Goku fighting him, Vegeta fights him, Fat Buu fights him. We have the Genki Dama, and everybody gives their energy. Majin Buu gets hit, boom, he loses, Kid Buu, and that's the end of him. Over on GT's side, Gogeta, then that defusion happens, and then they have to deal with Omega Shenron, Yi Xinglong eating the Dragon Balls, or eventually becoming Yi Xinglong, the final form. Goku, once again, sort of transcends himself and becomes an immortal god when he has a new Genki Dama, the Universal Spirit Bomb, and uses that to beat Omega Shenron. The thing about GT's ending, and there's no argument here, it's a blatant copy of the Z ending. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Which one do you think is better, though? Final battle, not the ending that we talked about, like the end, the final battle.
Yeah, so that's definitely an interesting question. In terms of the fight itself, I'd probably give it to Goku versus Kid Buu.
Me too.
Because I just think that that's a more epic feeling fight, and it does have that animation is amazing. You have everything going on there, like the people of the earth defending themselves for once with the spirit bomb and defeating it, the redemption of Mr. Satan, things like that. Narratively, I like GT's more narratively, just because in Dragon Ball Z,
I agree.
you had multiple main characters set up before this point who probably should have won instead of Goku at the end. Like Gohan, build up the whole arc, then he gets absorbed and dies. Same thing with Gotenks, neither one of them is even really factoring into the main fight or the final fight. It's Goku, Vegeta, and Buu, and Mr. Satan a little bit. Whereas in GT, it makes sense that Goku is the one that ultimately defeats him, and everyone else is helping Goku at the same time with Gohan and Goten, Trunks. They're all fighting against him at the same time, and then they come together and he wins. So narratively, in some ways, I prefer GT because it actually feels more like that effort. Whereas when it comes to an actual fight and a spectacle and stuff, I would say that the Buu one is probably better in that case.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna slightly pick the Buu one because, first of all, it was the first time they had done something like that, and GT just copied it. But secondly, like you said, the fights were better. The fact that Goku and Vegeta tagged in and out, the fact that we had Fat Buu defending Satan, there was a culmination of a lot of different things that they tied together. Fat Buu fighting his more dangerous evil version was great. And then the fact that the Z fighters came back to life, everybody helped. The Earth donated energy. Namek, they had to use the Namek balls. It basically, even in the anime, you see Frieza and Cell in hell watching the fight. So the finale of Dragon Ball Z felt like an actual series finale in the sense, like the final battle, I mean, because they couldn't top something like this, and just, the epic and grandiose scale. They had never done this. Like 3 planets are involved in this, bro. We've never seen a situation in Dragon Ball prior to that where it was Earth, Namek, and the Supreme Kai realm. So you had even heaven and hell involved, the afterlife involved. There's a lot of things that Toriyama really, really did to make that epic. One thing you can't deny about Toriyama: Frieza fight, Cell fight, and Buu fight at the end of each arc are all epic for different reasons. And I like that. Toriyama back then was a phenomenal writer when it came to things like that, I feel. So, I think the Z one edges it out. Plus, the best thing about the Z one compared to the GT one is when they're getting energy for the Genki Dama, and you see characters that you haven't seen in
Oh
years.
yeah.
Devil Man, Mummy Man, you're seeing Launch there, you're seeing 17 for the first time when he has the shotgun in the anime version. Like,
Yeah,
there you're
Oprah,
seeing.
Bora, Android 8,
You're seeing, yeah,
Snow.
you're seeing, yes, characters that you haven't seen since original Dragon Ball, so it ties everything together. Perfect. Using the technique that King Kai Osama taught him, the first major technique he learned in the afterlife was that one in the Kaioken. I love the Z ending, but I think as far as like an ending, like we talked about, narratively and emotionally, maybe GT hit harder. Either way, let us know down below which one you liked more, which final battle and which ending you liked, and check out Laughing Stock Media's channel right now. Bye.